You are too scared to try. Too scared to step up, to take a risk, to put that on your shoulders. You're looking for the guarantee. You're looking for the way out before you even start. Well, what if it doesn't work? But what if it does? What if it does work and it's the greatest thing you've ever done with your life? What if it's the best choice you've ever made? What if everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of making that decision? Yeah, you're shit scared. Good. It's how it should be. It means that you, A, care, B, are pushing to a level that makes you incredibly uncomfortable, which means you are going to grow. You are going to level up. Remember, the only way to fail is to quit. So the question is, are you putting it all out there? Are you willing to back yourself? Because most people are scared and want a guarantee or a promise of outcome because, well, they aren't confident in themselves that they'll do the work. The fear comes from the fact that you aren't certain that you'll actually follow through. Then you'll actually do what is required. That's the gap. That's why you aren't willing to risk it. That's why you aren't willing to put it all out there. That's why you aren't willing to put it on the line. Because in the back of your head, there's a narrative running that, well, I've tried this before and I've failed. Did the program fail? Did the option fail? Or did you fail? Did you not leave it all out there? Are you the common denominator in the scenario that doesn't work? Because if you gave it everything, if you gave it absolutely everything, if you left it all out there, if you left it all on the line, it's pretty much guaranteed that you'll succeed. But the question is, are you willing to leave it all out there? As always, we'll talk about health and fitness. It's the simplest one, and it's what I teach. This is where we come from. This is where we start. That if you took the next 126 days, and why 126? Because it takes 126 days to take a negative habit and replace it with a positive habit. To rewire the pathways in your brain, create some neuroplasticity, and set yourself up to be the best version of yourself. It takes 126 days to make that part of who you are. So if you took the next 126 days with your health and fitness, even with a shitty ass program, but every single day you left it all out there. You gave it 200%. You gave everything you had, every rep, every set, every round, no matter what it was, you gave it your all. There was nothing left in the tank. I can guarantee you, at the end of that, you'll be a different guy. You'll show up differently. Your physique, how you respond to the world, how you think about it, all that kind of stuff. You will be a different man. But you got to be willing to zero it all out. You got to be willing to leave it all out there. Nothing left every single day. You just push and you push and you push. Promise you, everything will change. But most people don't want to do that. Most people don't want to do the work. They don't want to risk it. They want the reward, but they don't want the work. And you need to flip that. Because for as long as you are chasing the reward only, it's going to suck. You're not going to give it everything. You're not going to zero it out. You're not going to leave it all out there. You're going to hold back because, well, what if it doesn't work? What if I don't get the end outcome? No, you need to be all in on the work itself. And so it's saying, the man who loves walking will walk further than the man who loves the destination. You need to fall in love with the work, doing it, and pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. It should scare you. That's fucking great. Because it means that you're willing to get uncomfortable. You're willing to push it outside that zone and do what is necessary. That's exactly where you should be. And you need to keep finding those places. I just made a decision this morning that, not gonna lie, makes me so incredibly uncomfortable. I cannot explain how fucking uncomfortable I am with it. To the point where either this works and I level the fuck up into the highest level and I finally step up into everything I've wanted from it, or I crash and burn. There's like nothing in between on this. But I believe in myself. I believe in what I can do. That I'm willing to bet the house. Because if I'm involved, I'm going to bet the house on me. Because I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to let my wife and children suffer the consequences of my choices. They're not going to suffer because I wasn't willing to zero it out. I wasn't willing to give it everything I have. But I know that on the other side of this is going to be immense fucking growth because of how uncomfortable I am right in this second. Like, this is probably the most uncomfortable I've ever been in my entire life. Where I literally just sat for 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes and just was like, fuck, what have I done? But it's the same as, Cortez and burning the boats. There is no other option now. It's do or die. There is success or failure. There is nothing in between. So I have no other option but to show the fuck up. I have no other option but to do the work. I have no other option but to keep showing up every single day and doing what is required until I succeed. Because otherwise my family will suffer. And people think that's extreme. But I think there are two things on that. That, yeah, it is extreme. But, well, it either means that you don't believe in yourself. That you are scared and you are procrastinating and you are putting it off because you don't believe you'll actually do the work that is required. Or you don't value where you need to go enough. That you are too addicted to the comfort. You are too addicted to staying exactly where you are. That the call for comfort, even if you aren't happy with it, is greater than your willingness to get uncomfortable, to do things that will take you to the place you want to be. We've spoken about it many times, but there are only two reasons to change your life. One, for pain, because you're in pain and you hate where you are, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, whatever it is, you hate it. So you're willing to change and you're willing to sacrifice because you cannot stand the pain any longer. And the other one is pleasure, because you want something better, you want something greater, you want to push forward. I firmly stand by that pain is actually the only true motivator because it's the only one that will actually push you forward enough. And as harsh as it sounds, you need to sit in the pain. You need to sit and absorb it and live in that darkness, because the pursuit of pleasure will only get you so far. It'll only take you to a certain point, because, well, as soon as the requirement of work outweighs the potential upside of the pleasure, you'll stop doing the work. The second you look at it and go, this is a lot of effort, is achieving my dream body, or achieving my financial situation, or building my best life, or whatever that pleasure is, you'll start to question if it's worth it. You will start to question if the effort and time and money and sacrifice that you're putting into it is worth that pleasure. And a lot of the times people will answer no. Again, is why we come back to this. You need to fall in love with the work. You need to do the work for the sake of the work, not for the sake of the reward. Because if it gets too much, if it gets too hard, if it becomes unbearable, well, you'll stop doing the work, because the reward is a nicety that's down the road. The reward is a future thing. Like, again, we'll come back to health and fitness. I like being in good shape. I like having a six-pack, and I'm constantly pushing to be in better shape, to define and, add details and refine the process of my physique. But the things that I have to do for that aren't, that isn't enjoyable enough to do it. It isn't enjoyable enough to thrash myself in the gym. It isn't enjoyable enough to say no to instant gratification vices, alcohol, junk food, all that kind of stuff. It isn't enough. Yeah, I like it, but it isn't enough to do that. I like the work. I like pushing myself. I like seeing how far I can take it. I like the feeling in the gym when I have left it all out there. I love that feeling of completion and fulfillment that comes from going, I gave it everything I had, and there is nothing fucking left. I like that separator. That's the Alex Hormozi one. I like when the road gets lonely, because every step I take separates me more and more, because I know that most people are not willing to take that step. I had it this morning. I'll openly admit, I was running a little bit late on my workout. I had to go get some coffee. And this was one of those choices where I made the wrong choice this morning. I did. I made the wrong choice. But my pre-workout is a fucking large canister of drip-fed black coffee. And I had to run out of coffee. So I quickly raced across, bought some, came back. Anyway, so I was running 2 or 3 minutes behind. So I'm doing my finisher as my clients are coming in. And it fucking sucks. I am down to it and I am shaking. And so it was a tricep finisher where we do extensions, band extensions, followed by band close push-ups, and you go from the hardest angle to a slightly easier angle to no band body weight. Anyway, I'm grinding out, barely repping out 3 or 4 reps on this as my clients come in, and they're kind of looking at me and they're like, oh, are you sure it should feel like this? They're like, oh, are you going to be able to train us? And I was like, yeah, but I had to leave it all out there. I had to give it absolutely everything. And it was 3 rounds of this finisher, and I got to the last one, and I was like, maybe there's another one. And so I went a little bit higher, and I repped out a couple more. And I'm like, basically standing up, trying to push out a couple more tricep extensions on this, and barely fucking moving. And I feel like my triceps are going to explode and all this kind of stuff. And they're looking at me going, why would you do this to yourself? What's the point of this? The point is that, well, for that, to see what I'm capable of, to see how much I could give, to see when my body's screaming at me that enough is enough, and I find another level. I dig through and I push out and squeeze one last rep, and you take a breath and you do another one, even though your body says it's done. That's the point. because I love that feeling. I love the feeling that I have left it all out there, that I found another gear, that the majority of people won't do what I'm willing to do. That's the point. That's what it's about. And that's where you gain the benefit from. But I love the work. And that's where you've got to get to. And it needs to apply to all areas of your life, because you will not get the results you want out of the life until you find it in all areas. Everything that brings you value, everything that matters to you, you need to fall in love with the work, not the result, not the end outcome. Because for as long as you are chasing the result, for as long as you are chasing that, it won't work. Because you won't make yourself as uncomfortable as you need to be. You need to find those situations that make you scared, that make you uncomfortable, that make you go, holy shit, this could end badly. But only if you don't do the work. Because if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to get in and you're willing to get fucking uncomfortable, it's going to end in the greatest thing you've ever done. It's going to result in everything you've ever wanted. But you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And you have to be willing to show the fuck up no matter what. And that'll be the separator. And that is where you'll find the results that others won't. Because when you fall in love with the work, you're willing to do whatever's required. Because you enjoy that process. If it's about the result, you'll call it early. And the true results, the best results, come in those extra moments, that extra 1%, that last little bit. So you need to get uncomfortable. You need to push where it makes you uncomfortable. You need to be willing to face the fear head on and trust that you will do the work, that you will follow through, that you will do whatever is required, no matter what, because that is where the success comes from. So if you're finally willing to put aside the fear, to step the fuck up, to invest into you and see what you can achieve on the other side, click the link in my bio. Let's get you into demanding greatness and let's change your life for the better. Until then.